Hello, hi, welcome once again to M5's English language learning program, Let's Speak English. I'm Gav Duncan and I'm here on your TV screen to help you learn English. Now, are you sitting comfortably? Yes? Good. And are you ready for today's lesson? Yes? Good. Okay. Well, let's learn English together. And welcome to you all. Well, it's that time of the week again. Friday! Way! Magic! Great! So today's Friday and we're here. I'm here and you're there. Or you're there and I'm here. But that's not important. What is important is that we're both here. Me on this side of the screen and you on that side of the screen. Or if you're looking at things from your side of the screen, then you're on that side of the screen and I'm on this side of the screen. Is that clear? Oh, never mind if it's clear. It's clear enough. Okay, on with the show, musketeers. All for one and one for all. Are you ready, Captain Banana? Yes? Good. Okay, on we go. Okay, now today we're going to check everything that we learned this week. So let's get started. Now, this week, in week 19, in the 19th week, and let me just say that I think this is magic. We've been together now for 19 weeks. That's a long time. And yet, here we still are, learning English together. Well done. Okay, now, where was I? Yes, this week's content. What did we study this week? Well, for one thing, we looked at will for the future. We know that if we want to talk about tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow, or this afternoon, or the year 3212, okay, we learned that when we use will, it's very simple. There's only one form. So we don't have to worry about changing anything. We don't have to worry about differences in the first person singular form or differences in the third person singular form. With will, there is only one form for all the personal pronouns. So it's I will, you will, he will, she will, it will, we will, you will, and they will. Simple. All will, all the time. Okay, well, will is the full version, and you all know that we prefer the short version. So, what's the short version? Well, to make the short version, we take off the first two letters and add what's left to the personal pronoun. Like this. I will becomes I'll. You will becomes you'll. He will becomes he'll. She will becomes she'll. It will becomes it'll. We will becomes we'll. You will becomes you'll again. And they will becomes they'll. Okay, great. Now we also looked at the negative, didn't we? Of course we did. All right. Well, do you remember the negative version of will? You do? Good. Now, what's the word we always find when we make negatives? That's right. We always use the word not. Think about that for a minute. How did we make the negative version of present simple verbs? Do you remember? Well, let me remind you anyway. When we change a verb in the present simple into the negative, we use the word not. If we're using the present simple of the verb to be, I am, you are, he, she, it is, we are, you are, and they are, then to make them negative, we add not. I am not, I'm not, you are not, you're not, you aren't, he, she, it is not, he, she, it's not, he, she, it isn't, we are not, we're not, we aren't, you are not, you're not, you aren't, and they are not, they're not, they aren't. When we want to make a negative from another verb in the present simple tense, do you remember what we do? That's right. When we make questions and negatives in the present simple, we use the verb to do. We use do for most of the personal pronouns. We use do for I, you, we, you, and they. But we have to be careful with the third person singular. With the third person singular, the verb do changes to does. So, for the third person singular, we use does. So, when we want to make a negative in the present simple, we use do, does, and not. So we use do, does to help make questions and negatives. I like ice cream becomes I don't, do not like ice cream. We put the do, does, not between the subject, I, you, Alfredo, Loretta, and the main verb in the infinitive. Okay, and when we make negatives in the present continuous, which word do we use? Correct-a-doodle-doodle-doo. We use not again. We put not between the subject, I, you, Dave, Jenny Taylor, and the ing form of the verb. Like this. Jenny Taylor is not enjoying the film. The sun isn't shining. Great. Now, let's think about the past simple. How did we make the negative version in the past simple? Do you remember? Right. Once again. In the past simple, we also use the verb to do to help us make questions and negatives. But we put the verb to do into the past tense. And the past tense of do is did. So, to make questions and negatives in the past simple, we use did. To make a negative, we use didn't, did not, and we put didn't, did not, between the subject, I, Tim, Doreen, they, and the main verb in the infinitive, like this. I didn't play squash yesterday. Doreen didn't have a bass guitar lesson this morning. Okay. Is that all in place in your brain? Good. All that information slotted into the right gap in your head. Magic. Okay. Now, let's get back to will. So, just as we saw, when we want to make a negative sentence, we use not. And with will, we do the same. Will in the negative is won't, will not. And again, we use the same form for all the personal pronouns. We don't have to worry about first person singular or third person singular. We don't have to think about spelling changes or doubling the last letter or vowels or consonants or anything. We just have to use will and won't. Simple. Mabel, Mabel, I sent you a telegram. Please put the info into a diagram. Stop. Thanks. Gav. Thank you, Mabel. That's a lovely table. Okay. Now that we checked the way we make negatives with will, it's time for a little practice. Do you remember who Mr. Sidney Williams is? That's right. Mr. Williams is the manager of the Fabuloso Splendido Hotel, the hotel where Mary's brother Gordon Taylor works, and the hotel where Loretta Swett will start work as the security manager. Okay, now last night I broke into the hotel and copied a couple of pages from Mr. Williams' diary, just like a ninja James Bond. Now, let's have a look at Mr. Williams' diary for next week, and then complete the sentences about his schedule next week. Okay, so that's Mr. Williams' schedule for next week. Now, I want you to look at the following sentences about Mr. Williams' week. and change the verb in brackets so that it means the future. Let's look at the first one together, shall we? Okay, so the correct version is: on Monday morning, Mr. Williams will meet Mr. Rolling Heart, the owner of the hotel. Their meeting will start at 10 a.m. and will finish at noon. So, we used will to make sure that everyone knows that we're talking about the future, about next week. Now, let's have a look at the next one. Okay, great. So, are you ready for the answers? Well, here they are. On Monday afternoon at 3 p.m, Mr. Williams will have a foot massage. On Tuesday, in the morning at 9:30 a.m, Mr. Williams will meet the head of cleaning at the hotel. Also on Tuesday, in the evening at 7 p.m, Mr. Williams will be at the theatre with his wife Sandra. On Wednesday, at 1:30 p.m, Mr. Williams will have a meeting with Loretta Sweat, the new head of security at the hotel. They will discuss the terms and conditions of her new job. Okay, great. Now before the end of the lesson, I think there's enough time for Enid to pop her head around the door. Enid? Are you there? What ho, people? Hello, hello, it's me, Enid. And I just wanted to pass on a little more everyday English to help you all. Now, I was with Archibald at the theatre last night. Rupert wasn't with us. Rupert went to the opera last night. But that's not important. Anyway, what did I want to tell you? Oh, yes, I remember. Someone stepped on Archibald's foot. It hurt, but Archibald remained calm and said, "Excuse me, you just stepped on my foot." The woman who stepped on Archibald was very tall with a very big hat. She was very apologetic. She said, "Did I? Oh goodness, I'm very sorry." Archibald, the perfect gentleman, replied, "Don't mention it." Later on, when we found our seats, there was a tall woman sitting in front of Archibald with a large hat on. Archibald couldn't see the stage. He tapped the woman on the shoulder and said, "Excuse me, but your hat is blocking my view. I can't see the stage." The woman turned around and, yes, it was the same tall woman that stepped on Archibald in the foyer. She didn't look too pleased, but she took a deep breath and said, "I'm very sorry, I'll take it off." Archibald, the perfect gentleman, said, "Thank you very much." But when the woman took her hat off, her hair blocked Archibald's view. The woman's hair was as big as the hat. Archibald gave up after that, and he played with his phone for the rest of the play. It wasn't a very good play. Still, at least Archibald was polite when he complained. At least Archibald was the perfect gentleman. Oh, is that the time? Oh, I must rush. I've got to meet Archibald and Rupert for cocktails. Toodaloo, pip pip, chitty bye. Okay, great. Well done, all of you. And now, that's right, elephant's toenails. It's time for us to say goodbye. The lesson has run its course, and we're at the end of the final week's lesson. Never mind, we'll meet again on Monday. Anyway, you have been watching me, Gav Duncan, on M5's English Language Learning Program, Let's Speak English. Don't forget to check out all the videos at www.m5tv.hu. As I said, I'm Gav Duncan. I'm not a surfing spaceman, and I'm not a skateboarding deep-sea diver. I'm Gav Duncan, and I'll see you next lesson. Have fun and have a great weekend. See you later. Bye.